Guess who's
And
back?
we're back with Tetris 99.
PMC's back. Hello,
You've had to have done that by this point.
No, really?
I think so. I think one of the earlier episodes.
Probably. Guess
How many
who's
episodes
back?
do we have?
Guess who's back? Like total?
Yeah.
Hundreds?
400?
I don't know. I don't know if we've cracked 1,000 yet.
No. We're at I think we're at 400 or something.
That sounds right. And you should go back and watch all of them. What's up, everybody? It's Popsicle Meltdown Convention. I'm Brendan. That's Connor. Connor's
Watch
playing
all
Tetris.
400.
Yeah, go back and watch all the early Mario episodes that we did.
Mario episodes are good.
They are fun.
Those are some classics.
The Mario and Kirby episodes. It's just the episodes are great. The filming setup was a little rough. Because we hadn't quite mastered that yet. But
we got
better
a
now.
better at that over time.
Yeah, I mean it was a learning curve. It was a learning curve. I could have just been good at it off the bat if I had done more research, but I was like, I know what I'm doing. I didn't.
Right.
So good job, me, I guess. But we figured it out eventually. So we're back.
You did it.
Connor's playing Tetris. I'm reading Reddit stories. Unlike other Reddit story shows, I haven't been vetting these beforehand. So we're gonna see what happens.
But hey, all the ones we've had so far, they got happy endings. So.
Yeah, they've been bangers. Will these today? I don't know. This first story is from Today I Fucked Up. Yeah, we're past the time limit. I can say the name of the subreddit. Here we go. Today I fucked up by accidentally buying 109 pounds of grapes, and things just went downhill from there. Fun title right off the bat. The store I shopped at last week had a special on grapes, $2 a box, but no way to weigh the boxes. They have the kind of scale that hangs from 3 chains, and the boxes didn't fit them. So I got 4 boxes of grapes, large boxes. I wanted them to make a batch of wine. Okay, for $8, it was a steal. First thing I did after leaving the store was get the shopping cart stuck in a rut out in the parking lot, and I couldn't pull it out. A stranger helped me get them out. Then I got home and I was able to weigh them. A gallon of 5 batch of wine uses 50 to 80 pounds of grapes. I had 109 pounds. Oops.
Holy shit.
Lord. Okay, so I hand pressed the grapes through a rack meant for cooling cookies. 3 hours later, I have enough to to fill my 5-gallon fermentation bucket. And there are still more than half the grapes in my fridge.
5 hours later?
3 hours later.
3 hours, okay.
Of hand mashing grapes.
Just mash through a fucking cookie sheet. That's crazy.
I guess. I decided to embrace the fuck up and made jam with one of those cases. I was at least happy to have a reason to use that no low sugar pestin? I don't know. I bought a few years ago. 4 hours later, I got 22 pints of jam. 2 quarts didn't fit the canner. I just tossed them in the fridge with screw-on lids, but the rest is all set for the pantry. But none of it is actually gelled. The directions said it might take a few hours or overnight to get thick, but nope. The pectin must have been too old. 2018. Jesus, man. I'm gonna have to unseal all the jars and recook it with sugar and can it again. I still got 30 pounds of grapes in the fridge. So I decided to turn my canner into fermentation bucket turn my canner into fermentation bucket number 2 and make 5 extra gallons of wine with the brilliant idea that I can use some of the ungelled jars of grapes to top it off since I'm a little short, and that'll save me some reprocessing time with the jam. 4 more hours of hand smashing grapes and that bucket's full, or almost. I do have to top it off with the liquid non-jam. I figure I'll start with the 2 quarts from the fridge that never got sealed. I grabbed them from the basement. What the fuck? They aren't liquid. They are now full-on jelly now. The fucker's gelled up in the fridge. So now I realize I can't use them, and I can't use any of the others that are still liquid at room temp because I can't have any more wine gelling up if I refrigerating it. Somewhere in that time, I realized the store gave me a senior discount for being over 60. Which I didn't ask for, and it's not a store with a loyalty card where they'd have my birthday on fire. The cashier was just like, yeah, this one's obviously over 60. Don't need a card her. I've been 60 for 2 weeks.
That sucks.
Especially demoralizing because I've been trying on dresses from my closet to see if they fit for an event I'm going to this Wednesday, and I was feeling smug because they did fit, and I was thinking I looked good in them. I was specifically thinking that I didn't look anywhere near 60. Pfft, wrong about that. I look old. I got a call from the event host today asking where I was. I wrote down the date wrong. The event was yesterday and I missed it.
No way.
And I need to buy either more grapes or more juice to finish the second bucket of wine. TLDR, I accidentally bought 50 plus pounds of more than of grapes than I needed. Everything I did to try and use them backfired, and now I need to get more grapes to save the ones I used. My ego ended up more crushed than the grapes ever being given the unsolicited old lady discount.
Aww.
The first comment is, they write math problems about you.
Whoa, no. That's incredible.
Oh, it's so much better.
What a friggin' story.
It's so much better that this was like a 60-year-old woman just like trying to live her best life, because my immediate thought with Reddit stories, if they don't include like an age, title, whatever, is just like a 20-something-year-old guy. Like that's who I picture being on Reddit. But the fact that it's just like a fucking 60-year-old woman is incredible.
I should have guessed that it was a 60-year-old woman, because who in their 20s is going to the market and being like, oh shit, I gotta get like 5 crates of grapes.
Dude, but like
I want to make hand-pressed wine. Like, come on. We're not in the pandemic anymore. Like, you shouldn't need that kind of hobby.
But like I feel like I know that guy. Like the kind of guy that like lives in like, you know, fucking Bushwick and is just like, yeah, I hand press all of my own wine at home.
Well, I think I know that guy too,
beer.
but do you think that same guy would go on Reddit and talk about it?
Absolutely. That's exactly the kind of
don't
person
think
that would
so.
go on Reddit and talk about it.
I don't think so. Not at all.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, I didn't clock that it was a 60-year-old woman just because like I mean, I guess I should have, because if there's 2 groups of people that love hunting for deals, it's like older women and people in their 20s. And so like going to the grocery store, you've never gone to the grocery store and just been like seen a deal like that where it's like $2 crate of grapes and you're just like, yeah, I could buy a crate of grapes for $2. That's so many grapes. I'd love that.
I'm not saying I haven't done it. I'm just saying I should have known that based on this woman's experience. I was like, yeah, definitely should have guessed that.
That's very fair. All right. Well, that was fun. That was a fun one. Here we go. Here's another one. Today I fucked up by accidentally becoming the neighborhood crow whisperer. This is my life now. It all started innocently enough. I saw a lone crow in my yard and tossed it a cracker. Harmless, right? Wrong. That single act of kindness seems to have spread through the crow grapevine. And now I have a full-blown murder of crows as my constant companions. Every morning I step outside, they're there, perched in the nearby trees, cawing like they're clocking into their day jobs. They follow me on walks, and yesterday one even dropped a shiny gum wrapper at my feet. I think they're trying to pay me in crow currency, which is both slightly endearing and unnerving. At this point, I've accepted my new role as their unofficial snack provider and accidental overlord. I'm genuinely curious to see where this goes. Maybe I'll end up with a crow army or a collection of shiny gifts. Either way, it's a wild ride, and I'm here for it. TLDR, tossed a cracker to one crow, and now there's a whole squad treating me like their leader. My mornings involve cawing shiny gifts and embracing the chaos. That sounds awesome.
That's sick.
I want a crow army. So bad. I always thought that would be... that's the thing, is that like where I live there aren't a lot of crows just like hanging out, but like if I lived in an area with crows, like I would absolutely feed them and like gain their trust, because I just, can you imagine how cool it would be like to step out of your house and just be like, here's my like murder of crows that just like hangs out with me. Like,
it sounds like something you'd see in a horror movie that people would be like scared of, but then you get older and you're like, oh, I would definitely. Oh, I got second fucking place. Oh, you're kidding me.
Oof. Wow.
Oh.
Fuck you, Manuel. You piece of shit.
Okay, well, what I was saying was, like, it sounds like something... I don't know, the first thing I think of is, like, you see somebody in a movie talking to the crows, and you're like, walking down the street, and you're like, that's a crazy crow person. And then, later in the movie, because you were nice to the crow person, like, the crows will come and get you out of distress.
Did you mean Home Alone 2, Lost in New York?
I haven't seen it, but yeah, I know
Okay.
the pigeon lady or whatever. So, I'm aware of that, but that's the first thing I think of when it comes to. I think also crows are a little cooler than pigeons. So,
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, crows just epic by nature, you know.
yeah.
I would say. But
Are crows the big ones or are ravens the big ones?
Ravens are the big ones.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I like them. They're neat animals. All right. Let's see here. This is why I need to vet them beforehand. Anyway, yeah. I would say that crows are generally like very intelligent animals. I like going on like TikTok and things just to see. Well, I mean, I don't go on TikTok so much anymore, but like every time I see just like a clip of like a crow like hanging out or like talking and stuff, I always think that it's really cool.
I've just always been a bird guy.
Yeah.
I do enjoy a good bird. I can understand why when people get older, they're like, I gotta go watch these things.
Yeah. They're like, I'm just gonna sit out there and look at them.
I hope there will be enough birds in the world when we get old, so I can do the same thing.
God, I hope so. They're great. Oh boy. Okay. This,
We got a good one?
I think so. Oh boy. This was reposted into Am I the Devil? So, you know it's gonna be... It's never gonna be a good one with that. So, here we go. This was originally posted in r/self. I'm not familiar with the subreddit, but let's see where this goes. As a former incel, I have found a relationship with an amazing woman. Hold on.
Bad start.
let me take this again. As a former incel, I have found a relationship with an amazing woman.
Don't do that.
And now I feel resentful towards how my progressive friends and community treated me when I was lonely. I was never entitled, I just wanted the same love and relationships I saw others around me having. I was never sexualizing my friendships, I was tired of being a permanent fourth wheel to my polyamorous friends who would do shit like plan to go to sex clubs in front of me. While when I asked for help meeting people, I was told to either figure it out or go to therapy. I never hated women. I hated how I was held up to a ton of unfair standards and expectations while being told that having my own was toxic. I hated being expected to pay for dates and meals and being used as a free meal only to get ghosted. I hate being told, I don't like your body, but I like the dates you take me on, by the girl I lost my virginity to. I hated it that I was expected to be stoic and emotionless because I would get ghosted if I expressed that I had feelings. I hated how I was repeatedly told not to focus on relationships and to look to friends or other men to have my needs met because women didn't owe me anything, only to be met with the reality that my friends weren't there to hug me after a long day's work. My friends weren't splitting rent and bills with me. My friends had their own relationships to go home to. Not to mention that most of my former friends paired off and fucked off elsewhere. Now I've been met and been with my amazing girlfriend for just over a year, and it's done more to improve my life than my friends ever did. We split expenses, so I have twice as much disposable income and to actually go out and enjoy life. She's there to hug me after a rough day at work. We split chores and housework so things don't get overwhelming if one of us gets sick for a few days. I'm so resentful that I was treating like an entitled misogynist for wanting a loving and equal relationship. But I'm so angry that I was constantly fed this clear bullshit about focusing on friends and people by people who already had their needs met in their own relationships. It's no fucking wonder young men are going to scumbags like Andrew Tate for advice when the prevailing messaging is coming from progressive spaces that they're entitled and don't deserve to be loved. Ugh. Edit, I think I'm done with Reddit for tonight. I'm gonna go have a nice dinner with my wonderful girlfriend while we talk about our days. Toodles for now. Oh boy.
Toodles.
Interesting. This is an interesting, like, I don't know. I think part of this is also just like, man, I think you got shitty friends. You know, like...
Yeah. We also don't know what he has said in the past.
Right.
Like, he could just, I mean, he could be covering his own ass as the person who wrote this story to be like, this is just how I thought about certain things. Like,
you could have been voicing that and we wouldn't know. But, like, you know, I think that there's, like, it's clear, there's, from what he was saying, like, he started every sentence with, like, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. Like, I think there's just, like, a lot of hate in your heart, man. Like, you know, you're coming off in a way where it's just, like, you're saying that, like, oh, I don't hate women, I don't, like, hate progressives, like, I don't hate my friends, and then everything after that you say is, like, I fucking hate these people. Like, they're the worst. They make me so mad, man. And, like, I don't know. I mean,
also, getting ghosted after you show somebody that you, like, care. Like, maybe he was just... I've never experienced that.
No, me neither.
I don't think I've ever experienced, really, somebody ghosting me in general. Maybe, I mean, if it was, like a one-time date and we didn't feel it, like, it was kind of a mutual thing. It wasn't like a... I'll never... It wasn't like, I was confused as to why, like, the person didn't talk to me again. It was more like, oh yeah, well, we didn't vibe and that's fine. It was never like, I'm so confused. I showed them I liked them, but like... But
then they left. Yeah, no, I think...
Yeah, that stood out to me as something that I just wouldn't think would happen.
Yeah, I think the only time I've ever been, like, ghosted, and I also ghosted people in this way, was, like, you know, sometimes back when I was, like, on the dating apps and things like that, like, sometimes you would start talking to someone and you'd be like, this conversation is going fucking nowhere, and then you'd just be like, I'm just not gonna respond anymore. Like...
Yeah.
You know. It's not like, you know, it's not like I was having, like, a multi-day conversation with this person or anything like that.
Yeah, and ghosting somebody on the on a dating app is way different than ghosting somebody, like, in person.
After you've met or something. Like, if you've, like,
yes.
You know, if you've been talking for, like, a day or something, and then you're just like, oh, no, we're not really vibing. Like, I don't really consider that, like, ghosting at that level, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't know. I mean, he raises a point about just, like, this is why, like, young men are going, like, being pushed towards Andrew Tate, because the left is, like, you know, deeming people incels who are entitled and stuff. And it's like, because the other thing that he didn't touch on, which is one thing that was kind of a red flag for me, is that, like, he kept saying, like, oh, like, I had standards and stuff, like, which I think he was trying to spin into, like, I just wanted a loving relationship. But I'm like, brother, you know, you're saying all this stuff about having standards, but you're not telling us what your, like, standards were. And, like, yeah, maybe you went on some bad dates with, like, people that you didn't click with, but, like, that's no reason to, like, despise them or anything like that.
Yeah, there's a thing that we can kind of glean from that phrase of, like, I just had standards, is definitely he might have said at one point, I just don't want to date a whore. It's like, okay, well, that's one way to say you have standards, but that's another way to get a lot of people off your side. Like, that's one way to get a lot of people to not like you, by just deeming women, like, all women one thing because, like, one didn't like you or ghosted you at some point.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's.
Was that the end of that? Was that there was no follow-up?
No, there's
like,
no follow-up.
Oh, I thought the "Am I the Devil" part was coming.
No, that was. I mean,
I don't think he's the devil for saying that, but I think he kind of had maybe he's got some ideals that he may need altering. But But I mean, and the thing that it makes me feel is like maybe this girlfriend that he's met, it just falls into all the boxes, like ticks all the boxes, but are still not necessarily, like maybe her ideals are not as great, but they also just like fit each other. They match in that way.
Yeah.
Like some
I
people
think so.
that we know who are very like in the arts and stuff, you can kind of tell where their brains are and like who they want to meet, who they're out there for.
Right.
Potentially people not being like too religious and stuff, and so you're like, oh yeah, I would never be with somebody who's like too up that alley. But then obviously those religious people are finding people who want to be with them because they are just as religious, even though some of those standards are we ourselves would not want to meet those specific standards of somebody like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think that there's just like, we have never been like more accessible to other people, like in our current age, just like with, you know, social media and dating apps and things like that. But I also do think that there is like, you know, people have never been more alone. You know, there's a certain isolation.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. And so like, I think that like, you get exposed to, you know, like, because I feel like back in the day, and, you know, I didn't really experience this outside of, like, high school and shit like that, but, like, you know, you would meet people in, like, common places, right? You know, it would be the kind of thing where you were like, oh, like, I'm in, like, you know, the student council, and there's this girl that I like who's also in student council, and we work on projects together, and she's cute. I want to ask her out on a date. And then you're like, you know, you already know that you have these ideals aligned, but like now you're going in blind. And so I think it is tougher in this like modern dating sphere for people to like find, you know, the people that they want to be with and the kinds of people that share those ideals and that they connect with. The problem with this guy, I think, is just that like he didn't tell us what his ideals are, and so like we can kind of assume.
Yeah, it just makes it a little more suspicious.
Yeah, a little bit, and he's also, you know, saying shit like I was an incel.
Yeah.
So, you know, that sort of colors that in a very specific light for a lot of people.
It's also funny to make a point about the liberal media and then, but also be like, I can't believe the liberal media is like this, but then fall into like what the liberal media is kind of trying to paint you as.
Yeah, pretty much. But also like,
yeah, well, the liberals are like, I don't know why people listen to Andrew Tate, and it's like, well, didn't you just say you were part of that like kind of clan that he was building?
You kind of like put that out there.
Bitch, dang it.
No.
Dang it.
Well, good place to end the
Come
episode.
on, man. Ass. Ugh.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for Tetris and Reddit stories.
No.
Hope you liked it.
No.
We will be back with more of this in the future. If you like this, let us know in the comments. Let us know some other subreddits that you think we should check out. And I will not vet the stories beforehand. And just kind of
don't do that.
Yep. Great. Well, remember to like, comment, subscribe, punch the bell, smash that like, subscribe, and
bye.
We'll catch you on the flippy dip. Good night, YouTube.
Bye. Kisses.
Bye.